welcome to the program. The year 2017 has been an eventful year for Nigeria with quite a lot of ups and downs. It's a year that some major happenings which may shape the future of the country actually took place. From politics to economy, security, fight against corruption, fuel crisis, Senate versus presidency, and so on. All these developments have helped to shape our fragile democracy and refocus governance in Nigeria. We shall be looking at some of the major issues of 2017 in Nigeria. Issues, of course, that have helped to redefine our democracy and may likely shape the year 2018. Let's start by looking at the protracted face-off between the Senate and the acting chairman of Nigeria's anti-graft agency, EFCC, on one hand, and the judiciary versus EFCC on the other. Of course, this also includes the loot recovered across the country and the effort by the anti-graft agency to sanitize the public service. Joining me right now to speak more on these issues, I have Achike Chude, who is a public affairs analyst, and I also have a lawyer in the studio in Ibehe Effiong. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. First off, let me start with you, Achike. You look at, let's start with what we saw in the judiciary this year. I mean, you know, the way the DSS, of course, swapped on those judges, and then eventually some of them were arraigned. Of course, some are still going through trial as we speak. And then the controversy also surrounding the case of Justice Ngajiwa, who was basically let off the hook by the Court of Appeal, saying that the EFCC hasn't got the powers to prosecute or arraign him. Just give me your take on all of this.
Well, I don't think it should be. It should have been so much of a surprise when the raid on the judges, you know, living quarters took place. If you notice, there had been a build-up to that. Starting even from the president's statements before then, about how you know, the anti-corruption war was being frustrated, and he cast aspersions on the role of the judiciary, either not acting expeditiously or getting, you know, matters thrown out of, you know, on technical grounds and the rest. And then, but the salvo was fired more by the EFCC boss than consistently, you know. And each time they had their major setbacks at the judiciary, there was always, you know, that tendency to blame the judiciary for what was going wrong in their inability to prosecute successfully and all of that. And so you would have thought that perhaps if you are going to have that kind of raid, not the SSS. Now people began to question the role of the SSS. Of course, we all know that it's a body that is supposed to maintain internal cohesion and security and all of that. So for them to now begin to get involved on matters of corruption, even if it was against the judges, a lot of people were not exactly comfortable, you know, with that. They are not set up to fight corruption. Clearly, they have other major responsibilities that are equally important. EFCC, ICPC,
even though they also came out to say that, well, they have a responsibility to check criminality as well.
Well, I mean, and that argument can be expanded, and indeed has been expanded, with the army also being involved in pursuing kidnappers all over the country.
Anyway,
you know,
so I'll come back to you. Ini, I mean, you're a lawyer. Were you shocked, for instance, when that happened? I mean, the raid on the homes of these judges.
I wasn't shocked because it is correct to say that corruption is a problem in this country. It has always been with us. Even the judiciary has admitted that there is corruption within the judiciary.
But the judiciary had always been untouched. I mean, it was always like a no-go area, so to speak.
Exactly. So when that happened, it was unprecedented. But beyond the arguments on procedure, on the modality that the alleged raid, in quotes, took place, some of us were more interested in the substance, which is that there is a crisis of integrity in the Nigerian judiciary. Just a show of blended memory said so in his report. Oputa has said it. Even the successive chief justices of Nigeria, including the present CJ, who know him, he admitted during his swearing that there is corruption in the judiciary. So some of us were more interested, and we are still more interested in the substance, beyond the arguments whether this was within the jurisdictional competence of the State Security Service. Because when you look at the National Security Agencies Act, that establishes the State Security Service, SSS, you see that while their mandate is physically restricted to maintaining internal security. That acts empower the president to assign other responsibilities to the SSS, which are of security, internal and serious national security dimension. And the argument was, if corruption is not a threat to national security,
what else could be?
And we are also going to argue that judicial corruption is indeed the worst form of corruption, because you can have a corrupt member of the executive, a corrupt member of the legislature. It is the judiciary that will eventually give the verdict whether they are corrupt or not. So what happens when you have a corrupt judiciary? But this is not to say that all judges are corrupt in Nigeria.
That's true.
But when you have members of the organ of government who are corrupt, it seems to cast aspersion on the entire arm of government. And you see how that has played out with, of course, the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which I strongly disagree with. Because in my opinion, that judgment is wrong in law. I hope I will have time to expand.
Yeah, but you see, I think...
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to comment on that.
I think it is also dangerous to begin to look at arguments to justify what was done, by the DSS. And the reality, because itself, again, the abuse of power is also...
But who should have done it? Who should have done it?
Because you already have an agency, or you have agencies that are,
what agency?
Whose duty responsibility it is to prosecute corruption. That is the EFCC and the ICPC.
But in this
they were already involved in this. They knew the details of the cases. And that is why, for instance, ultimately at the end of the day, the DSS was not exactly well apprised of the facts, even when they went into doing what they did, ultimately at the end of the day.
The fact is that, whether we like it or not, the DSS actually got... they got a court warrant, backing their action, a search warrant backing their action. We can't deny that. And the fact is, we've also seen the EFCC carry out similar raids. Not just on the homes of judges. But what I want to actually get straight from you is, do you think it was wrong or even illegal to raid the home of a judge? If you suspect that
a judge is a citizen, and we are told even by the basic understanding of the Constitution that no man is above the law. Even though we know that that is essentially more in theory, especially in a country like Nigeria.
But of course, judges do not enjoy any immunity.
I think it was right for them to have done that if they had justifiable reason for them to have done that, and by virtue of the fact that, like you said, they had a search warrant for that process. Fine, maybe to some extent we can mitigate even the criticism against that.
Exactly.
But I think that a different agency, the agencies whose responsibility, because when you ask yourself, let me even make the question.
But if you ask me, I think it's neither here nor there.
Since you already had an EFCC and ICPC and so on, why resort to the DSS?
Well, if you ask me, I think it's neither here nor there, because the DSS has consistently, and of course we've had lawyers who have come out to say the DSS has the power to actually do what
the army has the power to pursue kidnappers. I made that point to you.
Very quickly now, I just want you to react. Give me your own take on that judgment of the Court of Appeal. Basically setting Justice Ngajiwa free. Of course, the EFCC has said it's going to appeal against the judgment.
I've perused the judgment. I've read it. I have a copy of the judgment.
I've read the entire judgment
I've
myself.
read it completely, and I found the judgment with profound respect to my lords at the Court of Appeal to be lacking in law, and I say that with all sense of humility and responsibility as a legal practitioner. I've gone through the judgment. The reasoning of my lord is that you cannot investigate, let alone prosecute, a serving judicial officer in respect of offenses committed in the course of the performance of his judicial function without reference to the National Judicial Council, NJC.
So for you to do anything, you just
have
to seek the permission of the
NJC has to sanction it. And the argument of my lord is that, based on paragraph 21 of the third schedule to the 1999 Constitution, the NJC is the organ of government, is the organ, the body, that is given power of disciplinary control over judges. That argument, in my opinion, is flawed because, why? Disciplinary control has nothing to do with the prosecutorial authority of the state. In any case, there are precedents, even judgments of the Supreme Court, like Gaba and University of Maiduguri, Shitabe and Federal Civil Service Commission, Laoye and Civil Service Commission, and so many other Supreme Court decisions, where the Supreme Court has made a distinction between administrative procedure, internal administrative procedure, and criminal prosecution, criminal matters. What the agency does is administrative. purely administrative.
And I
it has no power.
I think it's very important to emphasize something you just said now, because basically, you know, the judgment gives one the impression that the NJC seems to be superior to the state, because basically what people don't understand is, yes, it's true the EFCC was prosecuting that case, but it was a case of the federal government. So basically, it's like the judgment translates to saying that the NJC becomes more superior to the state, that only the NJC...
In fact, the Court of Appeal even said that the intervention of the NJC is a condition precedent. That is the phrase they use. It's a condition precedent. Meaning that the NJC is now placed in a pedestal above the prosecutorial authority of the state. No matter how we look at that judgment, the implication in substance is that that judgment has given immunity to Nigerian judges, which clearly defeats the language and intent of Section 308 of the Constitution. That section specifies persons who are entitled to constitutional immunity, namely the President, Vice President, governors, and deputy governors. Those are the only persons who are not subject to criminal prosecution. But note that the Supreme Court again, in the case of IGP, Inspector General of Police and Gani Fawemi, declared and stated that even the President of Nigeria, governors are subject to criminal investigation, but that you cannot prosecute them. If you have persons, elected officials of the Nigerian government, subject to criminal investigation by the decision of the Supreme Court, these are persons who enjoy constitutional immunity. How much more judges who do not enjoy any immunity? In any case, we have also argued that it is not only the NJC that is given power of disciplinary control under the Constitution. You have the Police Service Commission, you have the Federal Judicial Service Commission. By the import of this judgment, it means no public servant in Nigeria can be arrested, can be investigated. Except the Federal Judicial Service Commission has acted and disciplined that person. With profound respect, that cannot be correct. What the NJC does is merely administrative. It is not judicial.
Okay, but just hold on. We're just going to take a short break now, and when we come back, I want to get your own intervention. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
The Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country? I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that panel.
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues. All right, welcome back. I still have Achike Trude in the studio, and of course, Inibehe Effiong as well. Achike, let me come to you now. You were going to say something to... Yeah. You look at the judgment of the Court of Appeal. Doesn't it give you the impression that you have a situation here where the judiciary is trying to protect its own? One of its own.
Good. This is the issue. And I mean, in as much as I would agree with the dire consequences of the ruling of the court,
which is bad for our society.
Of the Court of Appeal, which is bad for our society. But you also cannot, remove the fact that society is governed by men, and men have feelings, and men have interests, and all of that. Same thing with institutions. There are people who are handling institutions who have an interest to protect that institution for whatever reason,
really
altruistic reasons.
It doesn't make their actions right.
No, it doesn't make their actions right, and so on. But again, you can see the flow of what has happened from the attack on the judges, homes, and this is exactly the consequence of what has happened. And that was why I was also talking about proper procedure and doing things the proper way, because you are not just looking at this thing from a legal perspective. From the legal perspective, he has drawn, he has painted the consequences of this ruling by the Court of Appeal. But there's also the political aspect of it and the social aspect of it. The judges are human beings. The judges are part of the society. The judges are aware of what is going on. The judges are aware.
Of course, there's no question.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I'm going somewhere. The judges,
that is a problem.
The judges are aware that there is endemic corruption in virtually every sector of our national life, both the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, and so on. So the judges, the judges have been singled out, by the executive that is also riddled with corruption, and
You understand? I'm not justifying it.
Excuse me.
I'm not justifying it. I'm going somewhere.
No.
I am not saying so, but that is.
No. But what I'm saying is,
that is the thinking.
To say that won't be right. To say that they've been singled out, as if they've been singled out.
That is not my statement. That is not my statement. But that is the thinking. I'm very sure of members of the judiciary. Otherwise, why come up with this kind of decision that is outlandish? That is the implication. It is clear, even from the explanations that he has given. Well, now they see themselves as being under attack,
we still have to wait
and so they react in a way that does not favor the country. You understand? That does not favor the promotion of the rule of law in the country. There are no two ways about that. But so they are now looking at the whole thing politically, that they have to protect themselves. They have to protect that is where the way they understand.
Well, but that is where the danger is, because
there's a danger. I agree.
If we are determined to fight corruption, we must rise above these political intrigues that you talked about.
I agree.
The point I need to clarify. In the case of Saraki and FRA, 2016, the Supreme Court, the current Senate President had gone to court to challenge the jurisdiction, the constitutionality of and the legality of the charge brought against him before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. His argument partly was that the assets, alleged non-disclosure of assets, was investigated by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, not the Code of Conduct Bureau. He asked the court to declare that charge was incompetent because the process was flawed from the beginning. I'm drawing an analogy with the case of the State Security Service being the agency that arrested judges. You know what the Supreme Court said? This is 2016 judgment. The Supreme Court said that under our system, under our law, interagency cooperation is allowed. Notwithstanding that the Code of Conduct Bureau is the organ under the Constitution, the agency under the Constitution, that is specifically given the power to investigate matters pertaining to asset disclosure or under disclosure of assets. That the fact that the EFCC investigated Saraki does not affect the competence of that charge. And I draw strength from that judgment in submitting that the State Security Service, having obtained warrants in most of the cases, to go into it was a search. People choose to call it a raid, into the home of the judges. That may not affect the substance of the charges against them. For example, the exhibits that were recovered. But you see, I agree with him in part when he said that this could have been a protest judgment by the court.
Absolutely.
But judgment should not be on the basis of protest.
No, we understand that.
Because in the judgment,
in
the judgment, the Court of Appeal made reference, strangely and respectfully to my lords, to the case of the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency and the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, to say that the President had constituted an internal mechanism to investigate them without subjecting them to prosecution. It is not proper for the judiciary to cite the legality of the executive as the basis for protecting Nigerian judges. That is very strange.
Absolutely.
In fact, the judges even said that if the agency fails to act, the only option open to the prosecutorial agencies, the EFCC and others, is to go to court and ask for judicial review.
So you see the implication of all of this.
How damaging the judgment is going to be.
You see the implication of all of this.
That if a judge is found with 1 billion, is caught on video, collecting bribe, you can't arrest him.
You can't arrest him.
You have to
go to the
NJC. Even NJC says there is no evidence. Or your evidence is not sufficient.
I mean,
you can't still do anything. You have to go to the court and ask for judicial review. What is judicial review? You will probably be asking for mandamus. Is it to compel the NJC to now review the evidence? That will clearly defeat the very reason for which the NJC is I
think all the more reason,
all the more reason why the government perhaps should have looked at it from a different perspective and done things maybe differently and with the aim of achieving the same result.
For me, I do not see anything wrong with the DSS arresting those judges. I don't find anything wrong with that.
Yeah, but
let's just leave that. Let's just leave that aside now and talk about one other issue I raised in my intro. I look at the relationship now. At 2017, the relationship between the EFCC and the Senate. The Senate especially, I shouldn't say the House of Representatives, but the Senate, obviously not a good one at all.
Well, it is not surprising. We have also had cause to say that for the Senate, it is about self-preservation. It's about self-preservation. It's about self-interest. Because when you have a serving Senate president, who even the Court of Appeal has ordered should go back to the CCT to face trial on 3 counts based on investigation by the EFCC led by Magu. And you also have 7 senators who are also subject of criminal investigation and prosecution. And Magu has played a critical role in this. So they have a personal interest in the person of Magu, which was why we went to court. My client went to court in Raji Rashid, Oyewumi, and Saraki, and 14 others, which is still before Justice Nyako. We were asking the court to say that these persons having corruption cases couldn't have participated in the screening process. That case is still pending. But again, you understand that there is also this relationship between the executive and the Senate, which Magu is just being used as a scapegoat. Because the argument now is not whether Magu is performing or not. The argument now, according to the Senate, is that you have the State Security Service again submitting a report to say Magu lacks integrity. Meanwhile, the appointing authority is the President and Commander-in-Chief. The President has found Magu competent. An agency under the President is now questioning the integrity of that same person. That is why some of us are marveled, some of us are highly embarrassed that Mr. President has not up to date sanctioned or taken a decision on the fact that you have an agency under him twice contradicting his position.
And that clearly, actually, for me, that clearly shows something is wrong. It clearly shows, it gives the impression that the president is not firmly in control. If you have another agency that's actually supposed to be reporting directly to him, actually writing, basically writing against his own appointee, the confirmation of his own appointee. You look at what we saw, in 2017 between the DSS and the EFCC, it leaves so much to be desired.
I think it was highly embarrassing. It's seriously embarrassing. And just like you pointed out, it's clear that it did not give the impression that the president is in charge of the country. And that because these are his agencies, these are the people that are appointed, they were appointed by him. And they are there to serve at his pleasure, and so on. And then the president gives the impression to the Senate that I like this man, I'm satisfied with this man. This man can do the job.
But an agency would...
This man can do the job. And an agency that answers to him comes and says, no, the president is wrong. Because that's the implication of the letter. Exactly. That the question is integrity. Exactly. The president is wrong. This man is not worthy of the position that the president wants him to occupy.
Questioning the authority
you are questioning the authority of the
and
president.
The president
and you know what?
To go.
The president allowed it to go. The president did nothing about it. The president was aware of that his order or that his instruction had been countermanded by an agency, by a director that he put in place in that particular agency, and the president did nothing. And so when it happens, you ask yourself, you sit back and ask yourself, is this politics that is playing out? You understand? Because obviously there are so many things that are going on that some of us do not even know. You understand? But then again, you look at the fractious relationship between the Senate and over the Magu issue. And
because it would appear, would appear, sorry to cut you short, it would appear that you have a Senate that has a grouse, had an axe to grind with Magu, but like the executive provided, the canon.
Oh, the platform. They provided the excuse, they provided the platform and the reason for which the Senate could say, oh, wow, we got this thing from a critical agency of government. And again, the same agency that was involved in the raid on the judges' houses. When it comes to even this very simple issue and so on, you see the DSS not covering itself in glory, putting a question mark on their conduct also. So these are some of the issues that play out. That's why they say sometimes that the more you look, the less you see. But again, you even talk about that relationship. And again, it is said, it's a truism that if you want to come, if you have to, go to equity, you must go with clean hands. You find also, and it is critical that we must also remember that virtually every agency of government, every arm of government is mired in corruption. That's why corruption is said to be endemic. It covers everything, whether it is executive,
when
judicial.
You say every agency of government, it goes beyond government. Even in the
it's endemic in the society. But you see, they are the ones that will put in place to run this country, the affairs of this country. So we should have much more control over what they do. If the citizenry, for instance, are up and doing in terms of carrying out their
political democratic responsibilities and all of that. But we also remember that this thing didn't start today. It started from 1999. This fractious relationship between the National Assembly and the executive. Even when the executive under the PDP government had over two-thirds majority of the House. And what was the essence of, what is the essence of election? Why do people go to elect a governor, go to elect a president, and then make sure political parties, make sure that as much as possible they do their homework well, so that members of State House of Assembly belonging to the ruling party are elected, same thing at the National Assembly, so that the work of the government becomes easier.
Yeah. Because we just have to wrap up this session now. It clearly shows, I mean, all of this clearly shows, when you look at all of this, you know, from what we saw in the judiciary, the Senate, the EFCC, the fight between the Senate and the EFCC and all of that, it clearly shows that the war against corruption is surely not an easy one.
Will I say it's not an easy one? Well, I would rather say the fight is not
that there's stumbling blocks on the way, you know, the roadblocks you'll encounter, especially official roadblocks.
Yes, but I would rather not make an excuse for the president. Without bringing myself into the picture, if I am in President Buhari's shoe,
with the enormous powers you have,
give me 6 months, I'll break this country. Not like splitting the country. I'll break the foundation of corruption. What you need is someone with the courage, independence of mind, impartiality. Because that is what basically the Court of Appeal is saying. And maybe the Senate is trying to say, if you have to fight corruption, you must not use corruption to fight corruption. You must clearly show that you fight corruption both within and without, both inside and outside. It shouldn't be about segregation. It shouldn't be about partisanship. That, oh, only those who serve in Jonathan's government should be prosecuted. Let the president lead by example. Let the president demonstrate. There have been allegations. Even the chief of staff, the number 1 heir to the president, was some time ago accused of being involved with some allegations involving MTN. What has been heard about it? Absolutely nothing. You have also Dan Bazoa. There was also allegations against him. What has come out of it? Nothing. The former SGF, nothing. NIA, nothing. So when you see this chronicle of alleged executive corruption being perpetrated with absolute impunity, it begs the question that, really, is this government determined to stem out corruption? If you want to fight corruption, it has to be known that you are fighting corruption, and the best example is yourself. So the president has to show by himself that is willing to fight corruption, that is willing to do things the right way.
This is what I was trying to say. The president's ascent to power is also critical. The people that brought him to power, the platform under which he rose to power, was a platform that was given to him by a political class that was already known for their trade, you know, for their trademark in corruption and the rest. This is the truth. So the president finds himself in a very difficult situation. And so it became easier, just like you was trying to say, to look more at the opposition. Yes, even though the other people had also done the same kind of thing, but it was an easier thing to concentrate on the opposition rather than to undermine himself.
But it would be wrong to say that we've seen some people even within the ruling party prosecuted, even though not very high up anyway.
Yeah, well, that is it. But ultimately, for a lot of Nigerians, when these cases come up, you know what Nigerians do? They snigger and they smile because, as far as Nigerians are concerned, they know the end of this you know, alleged corruptions and the rest. It is going to die off. Well, so we want to begin to see a shift from that.
So it's quite sad.
The last thing I would just say,
the judiciary that should be the last hope.
If you ask me what this thing has painted out is the fact that there is no unity of purpose, no uniformity.
But I just wanted to say this, that it's very important that we just make this very clear. That in the midst of all of this, I mean, in the executive, you have politicians. The politicians will do their things. In the Senate or the National Assembly, you have politicians that will do their things. But that arm that is supposed to put everybody in check and check to be sure that society remains on the right path, is now getting involved. Then we're in serious problem. And that's the judicial.
There's no doubt we're in trouble.
Moral compass.
No doubt.
Exactly. Should be the moral compass of society.
But DEJI, it is also a truism.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, it's also a truism. It's also a truism that the prevailing philosophy, the prevailing dominant philosophy of an era, any particular historical epoch, determines even you know, the outcome and
what
the
is
character.
What's the dominant philosophy of this era?
So it's what we're talking about. So
what is corruption is the dominant philosophy of this era?
No, that is the truth. I mean, we cannot run away from it. As a policy of governance, that is why politicians go for election.
Fact is, some of us, you know, fact is, some of us, whether we like it or not, yes, we keep saying our society is corrupt, but you know, there are quite a number of Nigerians, solid Nigerians,
very good Nigerians
who are not corrupt.
There's no doubt about that.
What I am saying is, yes, I mean, you're correct. You know, corruption may be rampant, but fact is, whether we like it or not, to make any headway, to make any seeming headway, if the judiciary is compromised,
it's finished.
And what do you now do? The solution now lies with the people beyond all these institutions.
Comparative analysis. Look at South Africa. Why do you think South Africa seems to be doing better than us? They have effective institutions. You have a South African judiciary that you can clearly see.
I agree.
Indicting the president, a South African judiciary that is totally independent. So let us not downplay the cancerous nature of judicial corruption. This is why it is important. When a judge gives a decision on the basis of corruption, notwithstanding the actual motivation for that decision, that decision becomes what we call in law a precedent.
Yeah.
So for 2,000 years,
on which
for the next
society
years to come,
must be built.
Society will now be built on the basis of that decision.
That's true.
So look at the case of former CJN Karsinalu. We saw a situation between with the then president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Salami, where the Supreme Court assumed jurisdiction over a governorship election that it had no jurisdiction. You know what happened? In the subsequent case, in the case of Ukachukwu PDP, someone went before the Supreme Court and cited the revision.
Exactly.
In the Sokoto's case, the Supreme Court couldn't rely on his earlier decision.
And that's true.
So this is the risk. This is the danger.
Yeah.
That is why we must never tolerate a judge in Nigeria collecting bribe to give a decision.
Honestly.
It affects the foundation, the very fabric of our existence. It goes to everything.
Everything.
It affects the very foundation.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you.
Effiong, thank you very much for coming. Achike, thank you very much. And let's just hope 2018 is better and that things begin to change. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking about something else. This time, politics of 2017.
On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent.
Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country?
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that ballot.
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.